Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. I am here with this season's PC car, the Varis Civic Type R. This car is one of the fastest Tier 3s now, not counting the Glitch Legendary car. This would actually be the fastest Tier 3 otherwise. Now, being the fastest Tier 3 carries some side benefits, one of which is this car is capable of beating Tempest 3 Tier 3 without any stage 6s, so long as you have full fusions. Now, Honda fusions are not as easy to come by as the BMW fusions you would use for the M40i, which can do the same thing, but at least this is an alternative. Not only that, this is one of those cars that if it already beats Tempest 3 Tier 3 without any stage 6s, then even when Tempest 4 comes around, this should be ready to go, provided you have some stage 6s. So let's take a look at this car and what the tune and settings are that I would use for the purpose of beating Tempest 3 Tier 3 without any stage 6s. Let's start taking a look at Tempest setups for this car without having to really get into too many of the stage 6s. The main thing about this car is that it is capable of doing this with stage 5 only. Obviously, stage 6s make life easier, particularly if you put in trans, which is a big stage 6. But let's say we take it out. We don't want to put that in. You can compensate for the lack of trans easily with some other upgrades, such as additional turbo, intake, or even nitrous for the top speed and other things. So it's just a matter of really kind of playing around with settings until you find something that works well. For example, if we can keep it under 475, we can put anything else in that would possibly work. Of course, most of the stages will cause a bit of a jump, but for example, intake won't if you put a little bit in. But if you go to the third one, it'll definitely push past it. So it's again a kind of a playing around with different things. But all right, let's take a look at without trans, because with trans stage 6, because it's such a big stage 6, it really makes it very easy to get through the entire 475 limit Tier 3 bracket. But even without it, it's not like the car suffers that much. You're looking at the need to hit 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds, no problem. The need to hit 0 to 100 in 6.8, no problem. And a highest top speed of 120 mile per hour, no problem. And somewhere in the 13-second or 12-second range at best for your quarter mile. So overall, 475 easily beaten with no stage 6 at 473. So we're going to move on to the next bracket, which is 498. That is a nice jump, and it allows you to add quite a bit of stuff. You only need to hit a 135 speed trap even at that level, and mostly it's going to be increasing the 0 to 60 to try to compensate for the faster acceleration, but not so much faster top speed. So you can keep adding things because you have such a large amount to play with. You can easily throw more stages of nitrous in all the way to stage 5 without capping out. You can now start moving other things towards stage 4 and stage 3. I was avoiding engine because what happens with engine is it does add a decent amount of evo, but one stage of engine adds quite a few points to the PP point. But at this point, you do have enough of a margin you could probably get away with adding it. But just be careful because engine in the beginning can be quite aggressive in adding these points. Now, you want to also look at things like this, how many points you're gaining and losing when you add something. So you don't want to add a lot that gives you very little. So if this goes up a lot but that doesn't change much, that's probably not a great choice. For example, if you don't use this, you look at your evo point changes, and then let's say instead you threw in stage 3 intake and stage 4 intake to see if it'll stay under 498. And you watch for the change, and that's a much more substantial evo than with the engine at the same point. So I'll probably keep this set up rather than pushing the engine into it. Regardless, because the car is so fast, you shouldn't have any problem meeting the target numbers. You can now put this again to 3.9. You can play with this a little bit to see if it'll go up or down. So we're over 600 Evo already at 496, and that means performance is way up there compared to what is needed. 3.1 second, you're doing 2.4 already. You only need a 6.3, you're doing 5.0. You need 135 mile per hour, 140. And this doesn't even require you to tune for the speed trap or the sprints. You're basically using Max Evo Tune. And that's always a good thing because it's much easier to tune this way than to try to tune specifically to beat a particular point. And that pushes us right to 520, which again, what you'll see is an increase in speed trap requirements, but surprisingly, 0 to 60 actually got slower, and 0 to 100 got about, almost a second faster. So even before we get to this point, I already know I can beat the 0 to 60, 0 to 100, and even reach a mile per hour 140 without further upgrades. But certainly, since we're allowed to do more, we can now put intake to stage 5 and turbo to stage 5 because you have 520 points to play with. And now you can really start adding body and engine. In lieu of body, I would probably start off with engine first and then work on body later. That's one of usually my last ones to upgrade for any Tempest related challenges because I find body to always add quite a bit points on this side, but doesn't always generate enough benefit on the other side. That's not to say every car is the same, but certainly if you can do it without body already, you should be fine. For speed trap purposes, I always want to add in more power adders such as engine, turbo, intake. Okay, without getting into it, into fine tuning, you will crush the requirements. You're already doing 9.4 at this point, so the car's going to do like 9.3s. Very impressive car, very fast, and here under 520 PP points. Now, things start to get a little more interesting with the top speed at this point. You're going to have to start tuning for it because as soon as we hit 540, we now have to hit 150 mile per hour. So here, 540, I'm definitely going to be able to put this in. Okay, and now we're down to the last stage of upgrades, which is all body. So you can start throwing them in and just bump it up. And you can throw probably quite a bit into before you hit 540. So as you can see, you just put 4 stages in and you're right at 540. That didn't change that much, but that's because possibly we're going to need to tune it. Right now you might be limited by the final gear for the Evo points. So you can lower that final gear and eke out more points because your top speed definitely should increase. Now, your top speed generally will hit in this gear rather than this gear. You can get a little bit into 6, but not usually by that time you're at the end of the track and you're out of nitrous. So this isn't likely to get you to 200, but it should definitely get you past 150. Okay, so again, we're just tuning to Max Evo, not necessarily even worrying about tuning specifically for the speed trap or sprints. Okay, let me try to get that 718 again. There it is. Okay, very good overall acceleration for this car. 0 to 60, 0 to 100, almost a second faster than required, and then 6 mile per hour faster than required for the mile per hour. You're almost at 160, which is the final speed trap, and these two are already lower than what is required for the 585, which is fully maxed. And that brings us exactly to the point that by the time you get to 540, you're pretty much maxed out, close to maxing out your stages up to stage 5. This is why I'm saying this car can beat all challenges at stage 5 only. You don't need stage 6s. And that's, again, the second of its kind in Tier 3. The other car being the M40i, that also will do the entire Tempest 3, Tier 3, no stage 6. And the Fusions are easier to get. But certainly this Civic is very quick. Unlike, say, the M2 Competition or even the Porsche Cayman, which both of which still need some type of stage 6 to make it through. These two cars, the M40i and this car, will not. The only thing that's a little closer to being difficult here would be the speed trap. But again, as with any speed trap, it all comes down to running the nitrous a little bit late. Okay, so let's take a run here and let's show you what I'm talking about. So instead of using nitrous right away, I'm going to wait more into the deeper part of the track to use it. And easy peasy, lemony squeezy, right? Right there, it's 163 miles per hour. You have now completed all Tempest challenges. However, for you to make sure that you beat the boss, you need to get under 9.1 in the run, which means when you're actually driving against the final boss, you have to run differently. So for the boss run, you're not going to use nitrous late. You will use nitrous right on time. So you're going to do this. Actually, nitrous a little early there, but that's fine. You'll still do a very nice run either way. 8.8, not the best. You can do 8.7s if you're really, really good. So regardless, 8.8 will take care of the boss, which runs like a 9.0, I believe. I'm trying to pick up my phone here to look at it. I almost dropped it on the floor. Oh, here we go. 9.1, approximately 9.1 is what the final boss runs. So right there, you got your Tempest settings for this car, which clearly can finish the Tempest 3 Tier 3, as I've shown, without any stage 6s. Now, with a car like this, you want to think ahead. If Tempest 4 comes around, it's most likely going to be more challenging than Tempest 3. So a car that can beat Tempest 3 without stage 6s should be able to take on Tempest 4 if and when it comes around, if you have the stage 6s or if you have it fully maxed. And this applies as well to the other T3, the M40i, which is another option if you have. I would suggest you to hold on to rather than making it elite for licensing, because it's one of the cars that's going to make it through easier. Cars like the Mustang GT, which can still make it through Tempest 3 Tier 3, are already reaching the limits of their potential because those cars are pretty much fully maxed at the point you get to Tempest 3. That means it may not be ready for even harder challenges if you're looking at Tempest 4. So keep that in mind as you look forward and plan ahead for the next Tempest. Now, with regard to this particular car and the Tempest settings, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll see what I can do to answer them. It is a very fast T3, so it is worth building in my opinion, although Honda Fusions are in fact rather hard to get. If you like this video, please leave a like. Let me know that this is the type of videos you would like to see in the future. Also, if you like my channel and the content, please subscribe to the channel so you get notifications when I put up new videos. And as always, I appreciate you watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.